Leptodiscus belong to the domain Eukaryota, kingdom Chromalveolata, phylum Dinoflagellata, class Noctiluca, order Leptodiscaceae, and family Leptodiscaceae. The members of Leptodiscaceae are less known due to their fragility. These heterotrophic species have highly flattened cell bodies and are capable of fast changes of shape. They swim like a medusa, which moves by rhythmic muscular contractions. Leptodiscus genera is the first record beyond the western Mediterranean Sea. The folded specimens that range from 90 to 120 micrometer in diameter and with a prominent flagellum were tentatively considered to be young specimens of Leptodiscus. The abundance of the Leptodiscaceans is underestimated in the world's oceans. Amphidonium species belong to the domain Eukaryota, kingdom Chromalveolata, phylum Dinoflagellata, class Dinophysis, order Amphidales, and family Amphidinaceae. Amphidium species are freshwater and armored dinoflagellates with a very anterior cingulum and markedly smaller epicone than hypocone. This genus can be found in freshwaters, brackish waters, and oceans. Amphidinium cryophyllum is an example of mixotrophic alga. It is a cold water organism that is active during winter beneath ice and snow cover. Observations suggest that when light levels are adequate, it actively photosynthesizes. It is an autotroph, but under low light levels, it feeds upon other dinoflagellates, becoming heterotrophs. In the upper right image, 3 Amphidium cryophyllum cells are feeding upon a prey cells, whose protoplasm is shrinking as its cytoplasm is being drawn into the Amphidinium cells. As you can see, the prey cell cytoplasm is in continuity with the forming food vacuole in the feeding cell of Amphidium. Some species of Amphidium, like Amphidium vigourense, might contain kleptoplastids, derived from the cryptomonas. The kleptoplastids are visualized by the 2 black dots on the lower right image. As the name suggests, Asterodinium is a star-shaped, oceanic, and an armored dinoflagellate that contain fucosantine pigments. It is also characterized by having a linear straight apical groove. These species have 5 total extensions. As seen by the image, the episome had a prominent apical extension and 2 lateral extensions, whereas the hyposome had 2 atypical extensions directed posteriorly. In addition, Asterodinium gracile has motile cells that swam slowly, and rotation was also slow. Movement is done by using the long longitudinal flagellum, almost as long as the cell including the antypical extension. This long longitudinal flagellum not retracted and extended to control forward and backward movement and was oriented at an angle to change direction.
Next we will be discussing Anabiopsis cholerae, which is from the kingdom Chromista, phylum Myozoa, and family Anabiopsidaceae. So, Anabiopsis cholerae looks superficially like a fungi. It is formed a very divergent and well-supported clade of phylogenetic analysis. It is a multinucleated protist with a trophomere that possesses an absorbing root. This trophomere root penetrates the host and reproductive structures. The monomeres protrude through and attach to the host carapace, each consisting of one or several tubes which are generally transversely septate and ramified. They are an enigmatic parasites of the crustaceans that have been grouped together exclusively on the basis of morphological similarities. Next is Osiris marina, which is from kingdom Chromista, subkingdom Harosa, infraphylum Dinoflagellata, class Dinophysis, order Oxydinales, and family Oxydinaceae. It is commonly found in the marine environment, concentrated along the Mediterranean. They are oblong in shape without the presence of chromatophores. It has the general shape of other cryptomonads, including a subapical groove, a flagella, with a subapical insertion, and no heavy cellulose or armor plates. It has also no cingulum and no sulcus, and some classify it as a colorless dinoflagellate. They are also heterotrophic grazers and can produce doxohexanoic acid. Under the family Protodiniferaceae is an organism named Noctiluca fabre, which is under kingdom Chromista, subkingdom Harosa, phylum Myozoa, infraphylum Dinoflagellata, class Dinophysis, and order Noctilucales. It is a solitary marine species with lengths varying from 12 to 45 micrometer. They are heterotrophic cell with apical tentacle and 2 anterior flagella. It is considered as a resisting spore, which means it is a resistant cell, used to survive adverse environmental conditions. Resting spore is a term commonly applied to both diatom and fungi. As seen from the map, it is also concentrated mostly along the coastal areas of Eastern Europe and Southern Australia.
Peritonium is a genus consisting of 62 species which belong to the kingdom Chromista, phylum Dinoflagellata, class Dinophysis, order Peridiniales, and family Peridiniaceae. Its morphology is described as circular or oval. Its color ranges from green to yellow or brown, and they are approximately 30 to 70 micrometers in diameter. They are heavily armored with thick thecal plates that are generally divided into two parts, the epitheca and hypotheca, which are separated by a cingulum. Extending from the cingulum through the hypotheca is a large groove called the sulcus. This genus is biflagellated, and the flagella emerges from the cingulum and the sulcus. They are characterized as mixotrophic organisms, wherein they supplement their autotrophy with heterotrophy through the ingestion of small organisms. The genus Syndenium belongs to the kingdom Chromista, phylum Dinoflagellata, class Dinophysis, order Zooxanthellae, and family Symbiodiniaceae. Its common name is Zooxanthellae, which refers to a variety of species that form symbiotic relationships with other marine organisms, coral in particular. They are considered unarmored because the numerous thecal plates they possess are very thin. It exists primarily as unicellular coccoid organisms, but can also exist as mastigotes, which are motile. They possess a single pyrenoid that is generally located in the center of the cell and a reticulated chloroplast located at the periphery of the cell. The genus Amphidoma belongs to the kingdom Chromista, phylum Dinoflagellata, class Dinophysis, and family Amphidomataceae. Its morphology is described as ovoid-shaped with high length ratio between its epitheca and hypotheca, and small length ratio between its apical and precingular plates. It is approximately 10.7 to 13.6 micrometers in length. It is characterized by 6 apical, precingular, and postcingular plates as labeled in the figure. Their cells have one large pyrenoid with a starch sheath that is visible as a ring-like structure located in the episome. It has a close relationship with Asterodinium, which is the other known genus of Amphidomataceae. However, the genus Amphidoma lacks a ventral pore. It produces azaspiracids, which is a class of algal toxins associated with harmful algal blooms.
Next is from the class Dinophysiae, order Protocentrales, family Protocentraceae, is the Protocentrum Micans. It is a planktonic and bloom-forming dinoflagellate. It can thrive in neretic and estuarine waters, but it can also be found in oceanic environments. It is cosmopolitan in cold temperate to tropical waters. This species is flattened with winged apical spines and thecal plates. Cells of these dinoflagellates are teardrop in shape, rounded anteriorly and pointed posteriorly. The cell surface is rugose with numerous tubular trichosis pores. Lastly, it has 2 peripheral golden-brown chloroplasts, a large kidney-shaped posterior nucleus, and 2 anterior vacuoles. Next from the class Dinophysiae, order Dinoflagellates, family Dinophysaceae, is Dinophysis Accuminata. It is an armored marine planktonic dinoflagellate species. Its cells are small to medium, almost oval or elliptical in shape, and it has large chloroplast and a posterior pyrenoid. These species are widely distributed in temperate waters and are most abundant in coastal waters of the northern Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Harmful algal blooms not just negatively affect human health but also cause great economic losses to the aquaculture industry. Dinophysis acuminata
is a toxic bloom-forming species that produce ocadaic acid associated with diuretic shellfish poisoning. From the class Dinophysis, order Gonelocales, family Ostriopsidasi, is Alexandrium minutum. It is a marine planktonic dinoflagellate with thin fecal plates. The cells of this species are small-sized, almost spherical to ellipsoidal, and slightly dorsoventrally flattened. They also have an elliptical nucleus. These species thrive in warm, temperate, coastal, and estuarine waters. Alexandrium minutum is associated with toxic paralytic shellfish poisoning events in coastal regions due to its goniotoxin. Goniotoxin produced by Alexandrium minutum can be bioaccumulated in zooplankton, shellfish, and crabs. The consumption of these can lead to paralytic shellfish poisoning in humans and other mammals. This species also produces dense reddish to brown red tides.
Noctiluca scintillans belongs to kingdom Chromista, phylum Dinoflagellata, class Noctilophyceae, order Noctilucales, and family Noctilucaceae. It is a dinoflagellate that is balloon-shaped and strongly buoyant. It is commonly found in temperate, subtropical, and tropical waters, and it can persist year-round, but it is more abundant during the warmer seasons. It occurs in two forms, red and green algae. Red Noctiluca is entirely heterotrophic, that is, it ingests ready-made organic matter in its environment rather than synthesizing its own. Green Noctiluca contains a photosynthetic symbiont but also feeds on other plankton. Noctiluca scintillans is also popularly known for causing bioluminescence that gives coastal waters a bright blue glow at night as seen on the lower right picture. Although the function of their bioluminescent is still unknown, it was found that predators feed less on bioluminescent Noctiluca cells. However, it was also found to be responsible for some aquatic hazards, including toxic red tides and algal blooms. Because of this, it has occasionally forced closure of some beaches in Sydney, Australia. Syndenium Turbo is a species belonging to phylum Dinophyta, class Syndenia, order Syndeniales, and family Syndeniaceae. The geographical distribution of Syndenium Turbo has been documented to be wide. It was described as a coppod-infesting parasite, and it creates devastating effects on its host as it devours it entirely. At times, it may contribute to the death of its host. Its life cycle is not known in detail, but it was told that Syndenium Turbo initially develops a multicellular plasmodium inside its host until it finally occupies the host's entire body cavity. The middle photo shows a host entirely eaten by Syndenium Turbo. This can be recognized by the dark body content on the host as compared to the bottom photo, which shows the lighter colored host that is now abandoned by the Syndenium Turbo. The host is killed at maturity, and free-swimming zoospores originating from Syndenium Turbo are released. The first photo shows arrows pointing to the released Syndenium spores, leaving the host dead. Coffidenium species, which was first described by Pavillardi in 1929, belong to phylum Myzozoa, class Dinophyceae, order Noctilucales, and family Coffideniaceae. The morphology of Coffidenium species are not easy to describe and identify due to its high morphological variability during their life cycle, but smaller specimens range from 40 to 200 micrometers in diameter. Its distribution is mainly restricted to warm to tropical waters, and it was the most ubiquitous genus of the order Noctilucales in the open waters of the Pacific Ocean. It was described to have a fast division, having the ability to divide from an 8-cell chain into a 16-cell chain in the span of only 2 hours. There are 5 known species up to date, which are Coffidenium arcticum, Coffidenium labore, Coffidenium pavillardii, Coffidenium splendens, and Coffidenium velluloides. Coffidenium pavillardii was the largest species, with specimens ranging from 300 to 700 micrometers.